6 months, I wrote a book. I had the book published and it hit the shelf and it went to #1. I mean, there is no feeling that can describe that feeling.
#1 in 3 categories.
Celebrities that have my book are Christy Brinkley, Bethany Frankel, Mark Wahlberg, Bret Michaels, Gene Simmons has my book. I mean, it's just wild.
Hello there, this is Colton Snyder here, and this is Colton's Connections Podcast, Season 1, Episode 9. Today we have a special guest all the way from New Jersey, Shilamita.
Thank you.
Hi, Shilamita, how are you
I'm
doing?
doing excellent. Thanks so much for having me on your show today.
Thank you for coming on. I love your background. Is that Buddha I see?
Buddha, my hubby, and my fireplace vibes, and my beautiful flowers I bought from
It's kind of set up like an altar, kind of. I like that.
It is an altar in my bedroom. I always wanted to have a fireplace in my bedroom. My husband always said no. And then one day I was like, screw it. I don't need him. I have my own money.
Yeah.
And so I bought it from Amazon and I hired the service, like you can click the box where somebody comes and sets it up. And so one day he came home and I'm like, I have a surprise for you.
Oh, I bet he's like, oh my goodness.
He wasn't thrilled, but happy wife, happy life.
Happy life. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't have to bother him. I did it myself and
Well, it looks good. It's a whole vibe.
Thank you.
So one of my questions I have is, if you were going into a room full of people that didn't know who you are and you had to give a description of who you are, how would you explain yourself? Is that a tough one or what?
How much time do we have? It's so
Like
hard.
a good description.
I mean, in simple terms, I would say that I'm a guide. That is what I resonate with most. I guide people in this life. I live my life, and through my life experiences and my stories, I guide other people into the lives that they desire to live. So I professionally call myself a transformation and lifestyle mentor. And what that means is if you're not living your happiest, most fulfilled life right now, you can transform that. And I can activate that code inside of you, and I can give you a plan of action and actually take you through steps of healing that will get you to where you actually want to be. And for a lot of people, they don't even know where they want to be because they don't even know and understand that their desires are even there or that will ever come true. Right. And so that's where my story comes into play and is so powerful, because I used to be on food stamps and I used to have that same kind of mentality, thinking that rich people were rich and I was not one of them.
Yeah, that poor mentality, that poor mind thinking.
Very poor mentality, very, very poor. And I thought that rich people were bad. And I just made up all of these stories as to why they had and I didn't.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot to reprogram that mindset and that belief system. And here I am.
Here you are. If someone asked me that question to explain who you are, for me, you're like a spiritual leader to me. And when I tell people who you are, I always say spiritual leader, because for me, being a reader, reading your book, and before getting to know you and meeting you, I read your book, and it helped shift my business in so many ways, not just my business, but my lifestyle, my normal life, how I think. Like, I had all these negative traits that I didn't think I had, but your Food Stamps a First Class book calls you out on all your shit, I think. It called me out on all my shit, and I'm like, wait a second. And it taught me to take responsibility for my actions. Even if I don't think I'm wrong, it still teaches you to take responsibility because only you can take yourself into your future. So, your book to me taught me to not be the reflection of your past, but instead be the reflection of the future.
Love that. Thank you
So
for sharing that.
no
That
problem.
that book is definitely a kick in the butt kind
It
of.
is. Like one of my friends that read it didn't care for it, and she's one of those that like does not like to be called out. I'm like, that is why, because
Yeah.
that book, you got to be ready. It calls you out, but if you go along with it and you do the work, and I tell people don't read the whole book in one setting. Read it day at a time because it teaches you to grow, if that makes sense, and that's
So
what it did for me.
that book was inspired by Rachel Hollis, Girl Wash Your Face. So if you ever read that book, I read that book and I literally got a kick in the ass. And I opened up my note section and I started writing from food stamps to first class. And it was actually supposed to be called Girl Pull It Together.
Wow.
Then Rachel Hollis released a second book called Girl Stop Apologizing. And I didn't want to play off of her brand. I didn't know how far she was going to go with the book. So at the last second, I changed it and I rebranded it to From Food Stamps to First Class.
Holy moly.
And so that happened in 2020, right when COVID happened. So that was a real blow to my system because releasing a book in July of 2020 called From Food Stamps to First Class was ballsy.
Yeah, very ballsy.
People were afraid that they were going to die from this virus. And here I'm releasing a book called From Food Stamps to First Class. It was really.
Because in 2020, the beginning, we all didn't know. I mean, I think me and you kind of saw straight through the bullshit because we're leaders. We're very in tune with ourselves. So a lot of people, the media was making it look like it was in the world. That's what it felt like in 2020. It felt like the in the world. So no one cared about self-healing and self-help. They were all drawn to what was going on in the world.
Yeah.
But I think that's why that book did so well because so many people were tired of all that. They were wanting to shift their life and they were tired of being a part of that mold, if that makes sense.
Well, now what's interesting is I've really been thinking about coming in with a rebrand and really doing like a whole big hype around it because I feel like people are ready. Like the people
Uh-huh.
who weren't ready in 2020, I feel like there's been this awakening and like they've hit rock bottom and eggs are the most expensive they've ever been. And
Yeah.
it's like people can relate to the food stamps mentality. And, maybe if they see me and they see my life and they can connect with me, they get that glimmer of hope that the first class lifestyle is available to them. And that is really the basis of my work. And thank you so much for seeing me as a spiritual leader because that has always been my intention in my work. Like when I was on
Mm-hmm.
food stamps and I asked God, I got to my knees and I asked God and I said, please, like, I know that my life is meant to be more than just this. And, please help to put me on my path. And I promise that if you do that with me, that I will share my stories and I will help other people do the same.
Well,
And
you've definitely done a lot of that. I know so many people around here that's read your book, and it's just amazing to see how much people can get help from it. I mean, your book, it has all the tools that a person needs, not just entrepreneurship wise, but regular people can read your book. And I don't know a single person that would read your book and not get something out of it. I mean, that book is so touching. I cried on a lot of chapters. I mean, you connect fully with your higher self, your true self, and yeah, I just love it. And I'm excited. Do you want to say any news about your new book?
Yeah, I have a new book coming out called 62 Days of Transformation and Gratitude. It is a second addition to my first book that was called 31 Days of Gratitude, Create the Life You Desire. And so these are interactive books. They're ones that you're going to open up with a pen and a piece of paper and you're going to do the work every day. So in my world, it's not just about talking and being grateful, right? Like
Yeah.
people hear that I'm the goddess of gratitude, they're like, oh, like just another gratitude list. Like, that's not what we're doing. We're not just making gratitude lists every day. We're actually tapping into the consciousness and the awareness of your existence.
Yes.
Operate in autopilot. And so tapping in every single day, giving you a spiritual blurb that you can actually ponder, hold on to, apply into your own life, and then affirmations that are geared towards creation, right? A lot of people are like, oh, affirmations don't work for me. Well, of course, if you're standing in front of a mirror and you're 250 pounds and you're saying, I'm grateful I am skinny, and you've never been skinny before,
Yeah.
by the way, was my story, right? When I became 250 pounds, I was never skinny. I had one drop when I was like 23 years old. I was in a wedding and I had lost a lot of weight. So I had looked the best that I had ever looked. And then from there, I gained 100 pounds and was 255 after my pregnancy. And so standing in front of the mirror and saying, I am skinny, I am beautiful, I am, in my best body, that was a lie. It was like, you're a fucking liar.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to curse on your show? Mirror and lie to yourself. That just
Yeah.
doesn't work. But what you can say is, I am grateful. I am working towards my healthiest body. I am grateful. I am working towards the thinnest version of me. I am grateful that every day I'm taking a step towards my healthiest self.
Yes.
Right. So those affirmations are much different than, I am a millionaire and you are using your food stamps at Whole Foods, like it
Yeah.
sense to the psyche. So in the work that I do, in my books, in everything that I put out there, I really teach you the method of how to retrain your brain. Our brain is just like a computer, or just like your iPhone, right? Like your iPhone, it needs an update every so often. Your apps, they need to get updated every so
Yes.
often, or they stop working, right? The program doesn't work anymore.
It
So
glitches out and then, yeah.
yep. So we have been programmed since the moment that we have entered this world. I run this Gratitude 365 group, which you actually know, you're in it. And in the group, I don't know if you saw, I had posted this video of these little babies. They were in a room and they put a snake in there, like this big, like snake. And the parents are watching from like a mirror, and the parents are losing their marbles, right? Because they're so
Yeah.
afraid. And the babies, like, they could like care less. Some of them are like playing with the
Touching
snake,
it. I've seen that
right?
video.
Yeah. And so it just goes to show that fear is learned. Fear is a program. We were programmed to be scared, right? The first time as a toddler, when you went to go climb up the stairs and someone was like, don't do that, right? And like that,
That's where the fear comes in.
yeah, because that jolt is a program that your body has now remembered, and we don't like those feelings, right? We don't like
Mm-hmm.
jolted or feeling fear or anxiety. So we tag, like just like a tab that's open up your computer, we tag going up the stairs is going to get this kind of reaction. So don't do that, right? And so
Yeah.
start to tag things along the way in our life that go into that fear bucket. But the truth is that those fears aren't really ours. Like, I wasn't afraid to walk up the stairs. My mother was afraid of me walking up the stairs, but me, I have courage. I wanted to try walking up those stairs.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And
So,
I study a lot because I have about my traumatic brain injury a little bit. So I study about brain psychology and brain science. And it is a proven fact. When you say certain words out loud, your brain programs it. It don't only program it, it sends messengers throughout different parts of the brain and it helps the brain produce chemicals. Your brain produces chemicals when you say things out loud. So it's a scientific fact. If you say that you love yourself every day, eventually you're going to believe it, your brain's going to know it, and it's going to work. So I think it's all about, like people, when they want to get into manifestation and a law of attraction, they try to jump right in it, but they forget to do all this other work. And that's the gratitude. That's being grateful. That's being comfortable in your own skin. And that's also taking responsibility for only yourself, not the people around you, but yourself. So,
well,
which
if
your
you're
book does all
not
that.
if you're not manifesting in gratitude, then you're manifesting a whole lot of things that you don't want.
Yeah. I say it's like doing witchcraft if you're not manifesting in gratitude because if you're not manifesting in gratitude, then you're pulling things that are not of light. You're pulling things that are negative and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
because everyone thinks manifestation is a good thing. It is, but you can also manifest bad things too. It's the way you manifest.
Well, not everybody thinks manifestation is a good thing. People that are super religious think that manifesting is some kind of witchcraft, but it's not. It's actually in
It's
the Bible.
not.
And we're manifesting 24/7. So everything that's happening in your life is a manifestation of your mind. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's coming from you. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the bad and the ugly, then you need to shift that. And I know this all too well. So this is where my background comes in, right? Is that when I first started into the world of spirituality, I was a very negative person and I complained a lot. And this was something that I was unaware of because the people that I was surrounded by, they, I guess, were negative too. And they complained a lot, right? Because misery loves company. So
Yes,
you're sitting
yes.
around the same people. And when you're all talking about each other and you're, talking shit, and that's just what it was. And so I had a new friend who came into the picture, and this was after I surrendered to
You
God.
say this in a book. Sorry, me being the big fan of yours. Yeah,
Yeah,
continue.
tell the story up. And so she said to me, "You're really negative and you complain a lot." And it was a blow to the ego. Imagine sitting in your living room, somebody in your home, and saying,
Telling you that you're in the wrong, and you're like,
like,
what?
you suck. Like these conversations with you suck, right? Like now, if you were to have a conversation with me, you'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so positive, right?" And
Yeah.
right, but the truth is that I'm still negative. It's just I move through it quickly. Like I understand that that's where my mind goes. So like there's some people who are going to listen to this who are like, "Wait a second, like I just don't even know how to be positive," right? And so that's a program. It's
Mm-hmm.
a way of being. You have to train yourself to see the good in everything. You have to train yourself to find the gratitude in everything because it's easy to find the bad, right?
It
It's
is.
easy.
Yeah, it's so easy. One
Yeah.
of the spiritual quotes that I follow is when you think you're the most right, that's when you're the most wrong.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
And then another one that I love came from you, and it's something you learned from someone, but I can't remember. What people think of you is none of your business.
Yeah.
I
That
like that one.
Yeah, that's a real important one that I learned on the journey. And my oldest son was with me when I learned that lesson. And it's been a huge catalyst in the journey of becoming me, right? Because we get stuck in this life, stuck on everybody's opinions on what we should be like, what we should act like, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. And that is not a good way to live. That is total hell, right? When we think about heaven and hell, that's the way that I look at heaven and hell. Heaven is when you've reached a maximum amount of freedom in your mind that you don't care what other people think about you. That's when you've reached heaven on earth. Because hell is when you're living your life trying to live for somebody else. Like that is not a way to live. That is total hell. Like you did not come here to live life for Tom, Dick, or Harry. You came here to live life for you, for me, for Shilamita, right? I came here to live my life for me. But if I'm listening to Nancy, Susie, and Donna down the road, well, they're not living my life. And so, why am I putting all of my emotions and feelings and basing my decisions on other people? That doesn't make any sense. But that's the way that most people live. Most people live their life thinking that they have to do what other people are doing. And we very much experienced that in what we lived through in the last 4 or 5 years, right? Where people were doing things for the comfort of other people. But that's not why or how we came to live in this existence. We came here to live in sovereignty. We came here to be free. We came here to make our own choices and decisions. And from the day that we're born, we are imprinted with rules and behaviors and ways that we're supposed to be. And we're told that we're too much and we think too much and we do too much and we talk too much and we dress like too much. And then we create this programming about ourselves that we're not enough or we're not good enough or, we're not pretty enough or I don't have the body for that or I don't have the mind for that. And none of it is true. We have just created that truth because that's what we've been programmed through. And so all we need to do is unprogram. But the journey of unprogramming is a long one, and awakening is not easy. Awakening means that you need to start moving against the grain and not agreeing with everybody around you and removing yourself from situations where you're forced to go into a dialogue that you feel uncomfortable with. It's why I don't go to a lot of places because, or like local things, because my thoughts and my beliefs are deep and wise and wide and expansive, right? And when I go into a group of people who are trying to impress one another, who are trying to be in connection with one another, everybody tries to fit into a box that I don't fit into. So, we have to keep ourselves in places surrounded by people who are going to keep expanding us and stretching us and allowing for us to use our minds, to use our freedom of speech, to be able to be free. Thanks for having me, Colton. Oh, no.
There we go. It froze for a second, but I think we're good.
We're good now. I see you now.
Okay. So I think that brings us to, so we talked about the book. Well, we didn't talk about when the book's coming out.
The book is coming. It's ready. I've just been sitting on it because I'm trying to figure out what my next move is, but it will be out in March. It will be in people's hands in March. It's 62 days of transformation and gratitude. It's going to be amazing. It's really transformative if you work the pages every single day.
I'm excited. I'm excited to get the book. Like, I'm just waiting.
Wow.
I literally, because I was like, I wonder when she's going to post it. So I went on Amazon. I looked up 31 Days of Gratitude and I went to your Amazon page.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she didn't post it yet. I'm telling you, I'm going to be the first one to know.
I'm excited. It's coming. It's coming. I wanted to do a free book launch with it. So we were just building the pages with it. And I was just trying to figure out when it was going to work to do a book launch with it. So right now I'm aiming at March 18th. So the book will go on pre-sale before the 18th. And that'll be a free event. So I don't know when you're going to air this, but if your listeners are free, they can join me for that.
It will definitely air before the 18th. So that's perfect. And then next is the 50 Shades of Shilamita tour. So Shilamita is going on tour, everybody, and I have the privilege to book it and set it all up. So if you are someone that wants to have her come speak at your venue or college, school, because she can do a lot of educational things for children, high school, definitely. I think that was a perfect age group for you. And you do have a children's book out as well. So if someone wanted you to come speak at a library for children, you could do that. And yeah, parties, whatever you want Shilmita to come do, you just get a hold of me and we'll set it all up. But so far, we're planning on doing like theater slash arenas. That's what we're working on right now.
We have something planned for August for Labor Day weekend.
Yes, Labor Day weekend, Sunday, August 31st, Shilamita will be speaking on stage and then doing a private meditation, like meet and greets, and whatever you guys want, whatever the VIPs are wanting, you'll be there doing activities and stuff. We have a lot of famous people coming. We got Patty Negri coming from California. We got Haley Michelle. She's a famous paranormal investigator. She has over 2.8 million followers on TikTok. So she's going to be there. I'm sure we're going to film some TikToks because we're going to be staying in an Airbnb Saturday night before the event. And we're going to do a lot of like video stuff. So you guys will be seeing videos from there. Is there any events you got coming up that you're doing?
Right now, nothing is on the books, but if you keep checking back on my event section, we're definitely going to have some local book launch things happening in the spring. It's just so cold here right now. I need the weather to break so that I can go back.
Cold here too. It sucks.
I know, like I had 2 retreats in January and I just got like an intuitive hit to stop planning retreats because I'm like, it's so miserable. Like I don't even want to leave my house.
You just want to sit next to the fireplace
Yeah,
for the
I want
next few
the
months.
warmth and hot.
Now, living in Ohio, I don't know if New Jersey is the same, but in April, is it like rain, snow, and it's bullshit that it's spring?
The snow is usually gone by April, but sometimes we get some like freak weather stuff. Yeah.
My mom's in here. Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
I had to come upstairs. It kicked me out of the
I
video.
turned it off and reset. I didn't know you were on there. I'm sorry.
She
Oh,
turned off the
sorry.
internet. That's why it kicked me off.
Sorry, you can go back.
But I have data. I don't know why it didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad.
Okay. It wasn't our fault. It was my mom's.
Perfect.
I was trying to get the prayer to work.
Now you're getting a house tour.
Okay.
We are now walking down the stairs to the studio. Now we're in the podcast room. Uh well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. So I know when you went to California, you did some work with some celebs and you talked at that mega success event. So a lot of my friends were wanting to ask about who was the most memorable celebrities you met, and then who was the ones that kind of gave you a surprise, like.
So Mark Wahlberg was probably the most memorable because he
You
was
had a crush on him?
childhood crush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like standing like shoulder to shoulder, like my shoulder was touching his. I was like in all my glory. Like the little Shilamita goddess was like, yes, Mark Wahlberg. I
Were
really
you blushing? I can't believe your face wasn't red in the picture.
I was blushing. Did you see my cheesy smile though? My smile was from like here to here, you know?
Yeah. You
Um,
couldn't really see your eyes how much you were smiling.
exactly. I think one of the most memorable was probably Gene Simmons. I didn't really know him, you know, I knew he was like the guy from Kiss with like the makeup on, but like I never like knew him as like a person. And so he was very inspiring to listen to. He like spoke and had like a lot to say about business. Jessica
I
Sim
wish he would write a business book because
Oh, for sure, for sure. He's definitely a business mogul. He definitely is. He had such great things to say. Like one of the things he said was like there's 365 days in a year, and most people work 9 to 5. So then from 5 until bedtime and every Saturday, Sunday are days that you should be working on your business. And if you
yeah.
don't have a business running out of your house because you can write off a room, you can write off your car, you can write off gas, right? And he just started going through like the basics of business. And it was like, if you're not taking this time to do this for yourself, then like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
really so inspiring because, in my work that I do with people, I kind of say the same thing. Like everybody has some kind of skill set that can make them $1 million. Like everybody does, whether it's
Mhm.
your mouth, like your gift of gab, or, maybe you bake a mean cookie or you make the most delicious soup or something. Like you have a skill or a talent that can be turned into a business. And if you're not maximizing on that, then you're just a puppet in other
Mhm.
worlds, like in the mentorship that I do, like we describe it as like a movie, right? Like your life is a movie and you're the starring role in your movie, obviously. And then you have all these supporting roles and you become a supporting role in somebody else's life, right? And it's like, in everybody else's life, you can never be the star of the show because it's not your show. You have to
Yeah.
create your
Agreed,
own,
agreed.
right? And so I know you do this really well because you are a performer. And so that's it. It's about like tuning inward and just becoming comfortable with who you came here to be.
And it's fun for me because I love it. Because when I book my own tours, I'm like, wow, I could do this for a living. And then you're like, you should be my tour manager. You should do my tour. And I'm like, shit, I will. I'm in. Let's do it, Shalvita. um, but yeah, yeah, Gene Simmons. My starstruck moment was Winona Judd. I was a big fan of her, and I got to give her my book, and I was stuttering. I was like, I couldn't even talk. So,
That's
I
fun.
did you get words out with Mark though? Did you have any like conversations? Like,
It was very brief.
will you marry me?
Are you free
Benjamin won't
later?
mind.
I wasn't married at the time, so it's like, are you free later? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Those events were fun.
That's perfect. And oh, another like I wanted when I was reading your book and you talked about a little about your parents and stuff. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. So you are not from this country. You are from Ukraine. Can you give us a little bit about that, like some of your parents' background, where they grew up?
Sure. So I actually grew up thinking I was Russian. That's what my passport says, that I'm Russian. It wasn't until my ex one day was like, you're from the Ukraine. You weren't even born in Russia. I, I didn't even like really know that because it was like a similar situation where Russia and Ukraine went to war and the Soviet Union came in and like took over. And so you didn't really have a choice, but
Yeah.
that you were Russian. And so if you rewind, my grandparents on my mother's side, they were both in the Holocaust. And they were 7 years old. My grandparents are actually first cousins. So
Wow.
that's an interesting part of my story that a lot of people don't know about. But, the Jews were extinct. Like there, 6 million Jews died. And so when it was time to get married and recreate, there weren't many options. And so you stayed within the family. And thank God I'm, somewhat normal. But that is
Somewhat.
that is what it is, right? And then in 1979, I was born, and my grandparents really wanted to leave Russia. And my dad's mom actually did not want him to go, and they finally convinced her. And so I was 6 months old. I was 4 months old actually when we left. It took 2 months. They went to Austria. They went to Italy. They were supposed to go to Canada. That's where their visa was for, but instead they like did this journey to come to the U.S. I was a baby. My great grandmother was like an old lady. And so they kept telling them that the baby and the old lady were going to die. And so in a lot of the spiritual work that I've done, I've gone back, right? Like I've gone back into my mother's womb. I've gone back to this time. And so it was very traumatic going through.
Was that QHHT? Is that what you did to go back?
Honestly, I actually worked with a business coach who
Wow.
this was like really interesting because these business coaches were like, you can't present yourself as woo. Like they told me that I was too woo for the business world, right? And so he shows up, he flew in. So we were at a hotel. He shows up, we like have this meeting, and then he's like, are you ready to go deep? And I was like, yeah. And so we go up to the room and he takes me back into like some kind of meditation and he leads me back to
Wow.
then. And when we were finished, I was like, what just happened? I'm like, you said I'm too woo. I'm like, what just happened? And he was like, you don't represent yourself as woo. Once the fish are in your fishing boat, you could do whatever you want. And I
Wow.
was blown away because here I hired a business coach and he comes in and we talk business and then he takes me through this thing and then he's like, now what do you want?
You totally went on a magic mushroom journey right there.
Yeah, pretty much. And what I wanted was I wanted to host retreats. That's what I wanted. And so he's like, go do it. And I'm like, but, and he was like, no. And I'm like, but, and he was like, no. And so at the time, my kids were little. I think that the two of them were under 2, or like the two of them were under 3. Like they were really little. And he was just like, just plan it. And I'm like, but I can't go away. He's like, you don't have to go away. Like do something here, do a weekend. And so I did. I hosted my first weekend retreat. I did not know what I was doing. And the journey went on from there.
Oh, I love that. That brings me to the next question. This is a question my mom had. It's about your kids. How did your spiritual journey influence your parenting?
Oh wow. Yeah. So when I first got pregnant with Mikey, I didn't want to have children. Like at that point in my life, I had thought that I was not going to have children. So when I got pregnant with him, it was shocking to my system. I actually prayed and asked God to kill me. Like I thought I had some like disease. It was traumatic for me becoming a mom.
Yeah.
And so
And you were poor. You didn't know how to survive. I mean,
well,
you
so
were,
going into my pregnancy, I wasn't really poor. Going into my pregnancy is when I owned my business. So like I wasn't rich, but I wasn't that bad off.
yeah.
Once I got pregnant and I sold the business, then it was like, oh shit, now what do I do? Because I was very pregnant.
Yeah.
Like I was very pregnant. Like nobody was hiring me. I was very depressed. My
Wait,
dad.
what business was this? What?
When I got pregnant, I owned Little Scoops, so it was a franchise, and it was a
Yeah, you talked about that on that podcast you were on with, what was his name?
Robert Gill.
Yeah. Tell
And
everyone to watch that podcast because
yeah,
that
that was
podcast
great.
is awesome.
Yeah. He's on YouTube, Robert Gill. He's a great financial advisor kind of guy, does a lot of insurance stuff. He's very wise. So yeah, so when I owned Little Scoops, like I was okay. And then when I sold Little Scoops, I broke even. But at that point, I was very pregnant. I had an ex that was irresponsible with money. I decided to take on a lot of his debt stupidly, very, very stupidly. I would never, ever, ever recommend anybody does that. Then I found myself in a situation that I wanted to get out of. And at that point, I was like, what do I do? And when I owned Little Scoops, I did a lot of charity work with an organization called From Homeless to Independence, I think they were called. And so I reached out to her and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm pregnant. I'm in a relationship that I don't want to be in. My mom and I weren't getting along at the time. And she was like, well, there's shelters that you could go to. And I was like, oh my God, like, is this where my life has ended up, that I'm going to a shelter? And then she was like, there's programs like WIC and whatever. That beginning journey really shaped me into who I was as far as a survivor. Mikey taught me love, becoming a mom when he was born
Yeah.
was like the greatest gift of all time because I didn't feel loved and I didn't feel nurtured enough, right? Like maybe my
Yeah.
parents gave me like what they could, but I just didn't feel that. And so when I became a mom, I experienced unconditional love for the very first time in my life. And then when I met my husband, I experienced that from another adult human, which was, above and beyond. And then the journey with the littles has really been my big journey because that's when I started learning human design. And human design has really shifted and changed the way that I parent, the way that I am a human, the way that I have compassion and kindness for other people, because I really understand that we all operate very, very different. And with my children, they are so different. Like my first beats to his own drum. His profile, everything about him is just different. He's a two-line, he's a hermit, he's a compass, he's special. Then my middle guy is a spitting image of me. So he has been like my mirror. And he's really been my greatest test of patience because I used to be very impatient. And so I remember in my mentorship, like a mentor saying to me, like, what did little Shilamita need? And so little Shilamita needed to be hugged and didn't need to be yelled at. And so it really helped me to shift and change the way that I parented this child because I grew up in yelling. And so I started hugging him more and I started communicating with him. And then my little guy, he's just like walking Buddha. He is the epitome of love. He loves to be loved. He loves life. He appreciates life. He understands gratitude. Like he just exudes like all the goodness in me and my husband, like my other children, I see the reflection of like the not so great qualities, but in my little guy, I see the amazing qualities of the both of us.
Oh, I love that.
And he's so wise and like he just gets it. Like he gets it. And so this whole spiritual journey, it's really changed me as a person. I feel like in these last recent years, I've worked with this one mentor, Melanie Ann Layer, and she really teaches like the feminine and this rite of passage that we as women, we miss. And
Mm-hmm.
in the work that I've done with her, I've really grown up, and with my husband too, I really feel like I've grown up from the girl that I was that he first met into becoming Mrs. Friedman. I've really become a woman. And
That's a story I want to hear.
yeah, it'll be a book that I write. But I feel like a lot of women miss the passage of womanhood because we're not taught how to be women. We're just taught how to grow up in jealousy and envy and trying to be better. And, when you find a group of women that you can like really lean on and be yourself and be loved and appreciated as you are, no matter what your political beliefs are or your upbringing was or how much money you have in your bank account, it changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to provide those spaces for the women that come into my world. It's like whatever you've done, whatever you've been, whatever you think, like we get to clear the slate and start over.
I like that.
I try to do that with my kids. Even though it's
And you
hard.
involve them in your living too. I see you doing cupping with them where you put is that what it's called, cupping?
Yeah, yeah. I do.
Like I've tried acupuncture and I see your kids done acupuncture, but cupping I'm still I don't know yet.
Well, when we see each other, I could do it for
Okay. We'll do
you.
it backstage before the show.
Backstage. So yeah, I became a holistic healer along the journey of my awakening. I was led to go to acupuncture school. I was not holistic in acupuncture school. I walked in on the first day with a big bag of candy, big food dye bag of candy, like the dollar store kind. And everybody kind of looked at me like I had 25 heads. I thought I was doing like the kindest gesture of all time. And now I realize I was carrying a bag of poison with me,
Yeah.
right?
Here's a bag of cancer. God bless you.
Yep. And those first few months, that first year of acupuncture school, like I was going to McDonald's at lunchtime and coming back with McDonald's. And I had this one classmate. I hated her. Oh my God, I hated her so much. I have since loved her and have apologized for my hate for her, but she used to walk up to me at lunchtime and she would take my food and she would flip them over and start reading the labels and be like, "Do you know what you're eating?" And it was like not invited at the time, right? So you have to picture me, very overweight, very closed-minded. I was not who I am today. So here's like an older version of me, right? Here's who I'm about to become. She was like this reflection that I couldn't stand.
Yeah.
And towards the end of that first year, I realized that my food stamps worked at Whole Foods. And so I started shifting the way that I was eating. And I, like tried to come away from fast foods and whatever. And then in acupuncture school, I learned that I was sensitive to gluten and dairy, which totally shifted my life. But yeah, I mean, the holistic living, I was not a holistic liver. I was Tylenol for everything. Like
Yeah.
the doctor, get a painkiller, like there was, I had no qualms about side effects. Those were not going to affect me, like that's the way that I lived. And then after I had my first son, I started realizing like it didn't feel good going to well visits, like every time I would show up to the doctor's office and they would like present me with, we need to do shots. It didn't feel good. Like something was off for me. And then in acupuncture school, I had a teacher that said anything injected in the body lowers the immune response. And I was like, but wait a minute, how is that possible when they say to you that you get the shot and it's supposed to raise your immunity?
Yes.
It's actually quite the opposite. And so I started to learn that. And when I got pregnant with Brady, and it was time for me to start making big decisions for him, I remember
Brady's your youngest, right?
he is my middle guy.
Middle guy, okay.
Yep. So Brady is now 11. So we're going back 12 years. 12 years ago, my husband and I were together 2 years. I was 34 and I think he was 47. And so the word autism was like everywhere I turned was like autism, autism, autism. And so I looked at my husband and I'm like, I'm scared. Like I'm older, you're old, like, like I don't know what to do. And luckily I got invited into this group on Facebook. It no longer exists, but it was a community of crunchy women. And the one thing that binded those women is that they didn't vaccinate their children. And so when I was asked to enter the group, I was like, oh, I don't know. My oldest is vaccinated. I don't know that I've made the decision to not do that yet. And so she was like, it's fine. She's like, I think that you would be really valuable for the group because I was already living very holistically and offering that information very quickly. And so she had said to me, the only thing I ask is if you disagree or if at some point you choose to continue on your journey, that you just stop talking about it and you remove yourself from the group. And so in that group, I really started to learn about like all the things that we vaccinate for, all of the things that people are scared of. And I really started empowering myself and educating myself on, okay, like what if a child gets the measles? What would I do? What if my child gets the chickenpox? What would I do? And I started learning and I started building an arsenal and I got really good and confident. And my kids, I'm so proud of them. Like as soon as they don't feel good, like, mommy, where's the oil of oregano? Mommy, can I take a detox bath? Like they know how to take care of themselves at this point. They don't even need me.
I love that. And that's so way beyond their years. I mean, most kids don't think that. They're like, Mom, I'm in pain, take it away. Normally the mom just, goes for the over-counter drugs and yeah.
So it's called a drugstore for a reason, right? And so you wouldn't go buy drugs in the club. Maybe some of you would. But we're assuming.
I don't know. We got some rock and roll followers on this podcast.
I know. So I had to retract it. But assuming that you wouldn't, right? Why don't we just walk into this drugstore and buy whatever on the shelf, like because the government tells us that it's safe. Well, they also say that Skittles are safe, but no, the information coming out now is saying that they're very not safe.
And then the red dye is causing cancer.
It's horrible. Like there's so many ingredients that are so bad in Skittles, and we don't know. We think because it's on a shelf that it's okay and it's safe for us, but it's not. And if you're not reading labels, chances are you're slowly poisoning yourself. And it's a sad reality, but it's true.
It's sad. It's sad. In our country, we're taught, even from grade school, we are taught to comply. That's it. Comply. Do what you're told. That's it. Shut your mouth. Do what you're told.
It is.
And that's not what it's all about. We have freedom as we the people, and I think we got to teach ourselves to get out of that complying stage. I don't know. I feel like it's taught in school. What do you think? I feel like that's where I learned it, was school.
100%. I think government schooling trains you to comply. There is no question. I
To
mean,
spend $1 billion at college and not know what you want to do with your life, you know?
the whole process, it's like that, going back to that fitting into a box. Or I might have talked about that when you were frozen and not here. But if we go back to being put in a box, like that's what
Was I frozen like this? Or was I frozen like that?
When you're in public school, you're put into a box, right? Like everybody's supposed to learn math the same way. Everybody's supposed to learn science the same way. But if you understand anything about human design, everybody is not meant to learn the same way.
Yes.
And if you get put into this institution where now, if you talk too much. And if you can't sit still, then you're too much. And if like you're hyper, then you have ADD, and like they start to label you like stamp, 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 stamp. And so now you become an adult and you're like, well, I talk too much, I move too much, I'm this too much, I'm that too much. I need Adderall, I need an antidepressant.
Yeah.
That, right? And so now you have like all these college kids who are popping pills every day because they think that something's wrong with them, but nothing is wrong with them. They just don't belong in that class.
They just have different gifts and abilities. So, like, let's say I said this in my 6 Feet Closer book. I said, let's say you're a fish, for example. A fish cannot, you're trying to teach a fish to climb a tree, right? A fish can't climb a tree. So you keep on giving them detentions and taking away their recess and punishing them. Instead of teaching the fish to be a better swimmer, you're trying to teach the fish a gift or a talent that the fish does not have. That's the same thing that's going on with the children in school.
Agreed. And then the whole college thing is such a scam. You go, you spend 50,000 plus a year on 4 years of schooling. Most kids getting out of school, the average family, I think in New Jersey, is 60,000. So like it's going to take you like half your life to be able to repay those loans, if you're ever going to be able to repay those loans. And like right now with my oldest son, he decided to drop out of high school. So he went the GED route, and he went to a local college. And so we met with the advisor and we're like, what classes can he take that will transfer out of here? And he's like, well, there's no guarantee. What do you mean there's no guarantee? So we have to take a bunch of bullshit classes and say a prayer?
Yeah.
Right? He set you up to fail. That's setting you up for failure. So he's going to take a year full of classes. He's going to decide that he wants to transfer somewhere better or whatever. And then you're going to tell him that half his classes don't count. Like, joke's on you. You just spent a whole year, right? So like, it doesn't even make sense the way that they have it set up. And let's be real, like what you learn in college is not going to help you in the next phase. Like it did not help me. The only thing it did is it gave me life experience. It taught me how to vomit on my own. It taught me how to get myself out of life-threatening situations, right? I spent my college years partying and doing drugs and
taught you how to drink.
I was the one buying the drugs in the club,
Yeah.
Like, I will not be the one buying the Tylenol in the drugstore. So I'm grateful that I went through it the way that I did, because I survived that part of my life. I'm here to tell that story, and now I get to live life with different choices.
I love that. Oh God, that's so true. Everything you just said. I bet everyone watching this is gonna get chills because that's exactly how the world is going right now. And college, there's like a lot of the massage stuff. I got certified to be a massage therapist, and a lot of people are like, how did you do that? You have to be this, da, 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 da." I said, no, I found someone who is a doctorate and was able to train people and certify people, and I went and I met and I worked with her, and I got certified under her. And I didn't go to school, I didn't pay all this money. I volunteered at her shop, I worked for free so I can get the training, and I got the training, and I was certified in high school. I wasn't even graduated yet. So you do not need education is everywhere. With the internet, we can educate ourselves by research and experimenting and meeting people, going to conferences, going to expos, meeting vendors, meeting business owners,
100.
educating yourself that way.
Yeah. The education system as it is not all that it's cracked up to be. It really is quote unquote free babysitting. I mean, I talk to my kids about it all the time because my kids decided to go back to public school. We homeschooled for a while. And they chose to go back to the public school system. And, we talk about it like, don't put all your eggs in that basket. Like what they say is not law, and I just try to build their confidence and help them to understand that like it's like a mode of entertainment right now, like they don't want to homeschool. So this is how you're going to pass your time. You got to
That's a reality show I want to see, you homeschooling, being
yeah.
the teacher.
Well, I didn't technically do that. I paid other people to home.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish if I could go back and do it again, I wish I would have done it different. I wish I would have
Yeah.
had it in me to do it that way. I wish that I could be more of a homesteader and like, I wish a lot of wishes, but we did life the way that we did it. And now I'm prepared for anything, like should hell break loose, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be okay. I'm ready to pull my kids back out.
My opinion, if you are an entrepreneur through COVID and you still have your business, you're a badass. I mean, if you survive that, you can survive anything. Cause that was
That was survival of the
But
fittest.
I don't know. COVID kind of helped my business with my readings and shit. Like everyone's business was in the shitter. Mine actually was good during COVID, but when COVID got out, that's when mine went in the shitter.
So, I know a lot of people who did very well through COVID because the personal development coaching world took off during that time.
Yeah.
People had a lot of time on their hands. And so that's when you did well too. And then what happened is the world opened up back up. And so people want to be in community, people want to be together. And so that's why this next phase of, the 50 Shades tour and the Colton Schneider Freak Tour, it's
Cause I'm freaky.
because people want to be out in public. People want to be in community. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be felt. They want to be touched. And so the online world, it kind of disconnected people. And so I think people are just ready to see each other again.
And I can't wait to see people on the 50 Shades tour because seeing you speak, it's just you vibrate the room when you walk on stage and you talk. Like when I had you come to Cardington in the middle of what? Bumblefuck nowhere. How did you say it?
Fuck Ohio. Hey, Colton Schneider, if you get me to come to Bumblefuck, Ohio, where they put sour cream in their guacamole and they hunt their dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
I learned so many things. I learned how to use TikTok. That was a very productive weekend.
Yeah, it was. I think that's when you first downloaded TikTok too.
I made my very first TikTok in Cardington, Ohio.
Let it be history because my friend was teaching you and she was TikTok famous. Like
Yes, yes,
was, she
yes,
knew how to run TikTok.
yes.
And TikTok famous in Bumblefuck, Ohio too. That's
I was so impressed. I'm like, she's more famous than me.
but it worked. But you spoke and I teared up a lot during it because It's like you're gifted. I mean, you may not say you're psychic, but you are, because you will look at your audience and you'll know what to talk about. I feel like when I look at your videos, yeah, you talk about the same thing, the manifestation stuff, but then you read your audience and you bring up things that touches them, and that's why you're so amazing, and that's why your tour is going to be a success, because no matter, every show is going to be different, everything that you do is going to be different, because you get to know your people, and then you help them from where they're at, and then you help them grow, and it's just, I'm excited. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yeah, that is what differentiates my stage appearance from others. And that's why I do love being in person in front of a crowd, because it is important to read a room. There's parts of the story, my story, that are not appropriate in certain rooms.
Yeah.
And not everybody needs to hear every part of my story. And I teach through the stories of my life. So it's important for me to see and to feel. And so because of that, every show is different because the stories are different. And I also love doing live Q&A, because I do feel like I am very divinely led. I don't pin myself as psychic, but I do believe that I am God led. And
But she's psychic as shit, people. Let me tell you. I'll say it. She don't have to say it. I'll say it.
uh, I feel like God leads me, and a lot of time I remember, like, as an acupuncturist, like, I would leave a room and I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you tell them that story, right?
Yeah.
I would like be so in my head, like, what is, because this is when I thought I was doing it on my own.
Yeah.
Very much understand I'm not doing it on my own. And so then, like, that patient would come back like a week later and they would be like, you have no idea how that story changed me, right? And like a lot of my stories are attached to like shame
Yes.
and so like, I'm very vulnerable in my speaking. I tell every part of my life very freely, because I know that there's people who are living through the same story, so yeah.
And I think you're funny. I think it's also it's like you're gonna laugh a lot and cry a lot if you're really getting in tune.
I do
Like
think
when
I'm funny.
at your show, like I not only cried, but I laughed my ass off because you're really funny too. I mean, you're so relatable, and the audience can see themselves in you. So it's just, it feels good to see you. It feels good to see you in
You would
show.
appreciate this. Like a year ago, I got an intuitive hit to be a comedian. And so, like, I had this whole bit too, like, in my mind.
I am I booking that tour too, the Shill comedy tour.
We might have to. Like, I'm gonna I'm gonna pass some of my jokes by you and see if we can put together a show.
See
And
if we get canceled or
like
what.
too controversial, I might need security for that.
You're gonna be just like Roseanne Barr. You're gonna be fired, and the whole world's gonna know about you.
Oh boy. Well, this
But
was
hey, look at her. Did you see her new song, her rap song?
no.
Daddy's back. It's about Trump being back in the White House. Daddy's home, I think that's what it's called. She did it with a rapper, and it's hilarious. I gotta send it to you.
Okay, yeah, definitely send it to me. Well, this was
But
fun.
huh?
This was fun. It's 111 Make a Wish.
Are you making a wish?
Mhm.
I made my wish.
Me too.
Do I tell you my wish or no?
When it comes to-
What if I write it down and then
like,
send
oh my
it?
God, the thing that I manifested on the call came true.
What?
When the thing comes true, then you could be like, oh my God, the thing I manifested on the call came true.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
So when it comes true, then I'll say what it is. Got it.
Yeah.
I want to ask a few more questions before we wrap up, if that's okay with you. This is a random one. If you had 3 superpowers, what would they be?
Wow.
You
Three.
want My first one would be invisible, because I like to watch people. I'm not saying like I'm a creep or anything, but I love to watch different situations and how people like live their life and all that. Like I love reality shows.
Yeah.
So I'd be invisible, just seeing how people, go about their day and shit.
I like invisible. I thought about that, so I could be a little spy on the wall, right?
I'd be at every political meeting.
Strength. I would love to have like super strength, right? Like if a car was in my way, I could just like move it. And then I mean, I guess I already have the psychic ability, but
yeah, don't wish for that. That's only gonna grow. I
so
say, what about flying? I mean, you're always having to ride first class. You wouldn't have to do that anymore. You could just fly.
flying. I don't know. I kind of like
And
being
you could bring your own drinks with you.
I
'Cause
kind of like being served. I know, like if I had to fly, I'd have to fly on my own. So I'm gonna keep the first class experience.
okay, got it. um, and I guess travel. Where are you traveling this year, 2025? We won't say where you're going for the tour yet, because I gotta get all that done before I say for sure where you're gonna be at.
So far, I will be in LA. I will be in Las Vegas. I will be in Hawaii. I will be in Ohio. I will be in Aruba. I will be in Pennsylvania. I will be. That's all I've got on the books right now. But
Maybe Florida.
I'm sure that's gonna fill in. Maybe
It
Florida.
is. Shilamina's gonna hate me. I'm gonna make her so busy. She's gonna be like, "You're fired."
No way, we get to spread the word and spread the cheers. So let's.
Good. I think that's it. Oh my goodness, look. And there are a lot of things I was gonna ask you, you brought up. So I was like, shit, I don't have to ask that. I don't have that. We covered everything.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. If anybody wants to find me, you just have to spell my name correctly. It's Shillamita, Shil.
Wait, teach them how to say your name. Because remember when I first met you, I fucked it up. And I was like, everyone, please welcome Shillaminda. And you're like, Shillamita. And I was like, fuck, I'm sorry.
Shillamita. So it's like chill, but with a sh.
Yeah.
Shillamita. Shillamita.
You need a Sue Apple.
And it's shill for short.
You need a Sue Apple.
I need a what?
Sue Apple, because Siri says your name wrong.
Oh. I'll forgive you. I will correct you. My hair, one of my glam girls has been calling me Sheila for like a really long time, which is like one of the nicknames that I hate. And so finally, like a week ago, I was like, listen, I love you. And like, I don't even mind it that she calls me Sheila, but now she's like talking about me to other people. So now,
And then they're calling you Sheila.
Yeah. So I'm like, we gotta nip it in the bud. It's Shill or Shillamita. No Sheila.
Shill is my favorite because when I'm stressed out in my life, I'm just like, I get in those moods where I just want to blow up. I want to rant. I just want to let it all out. And then I'm like, I need a shill pill. And I go and I read your affirmations from the gratitude book. And then I just say it. And then it gets me out of my, I want to fuck people up mood, you know? And I'm back in that balanced place.
We should make something like that, a shill pill, like a something.
Yeah, with your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shill pill.
Credited from Colton.
Good idea.
See, I was doing that already without even telling you. Shill pill. I need a shill pill. Go read a book about Shillamita and you'll be chilled out.
All right. Well, let's do this again soon.
All right. I love you. And we'll have her back on. She's actually going to be in person on the podcast show in August. I know we're going to do some lives together, maybe this summer, to do announcements for your tours and stuff. So definitely stay tuned on both of our pages, mainly hers, because she'll be posting everything on hers. Shillamita on everything. You look her up on Google, all her stuff pops up. So if you're having trouble finding certain pages, if you type her name into Google, all her pages will pop up. So thank you for coming on. And again, this is Colton's Connections podcast, and we are so happy to have Shillamita.